I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to the latest broadcast. On today, it's Sovereignty 101 continued, talking about things. And now I am having an issue again with Google Hangouts. It would not initialize, so I had to convert over and go through a Zoom call. And when that happens, I've got to do basically a stream where I'm sending it from a piece of software to YouTube. It's basically called encoding software. So I'm sorry about that, but I know if you were hanging out over on the event, which I should probably go over there and make sure to direct people over to the other. So give me a moment there while I get this done as well. Not much I can do about it when this is when you have it all. It's an event that's planned. It's kind of like eventing. You can set up a concert, right? Everyone has got at the gates, and then they say, "Well, we can't open the gates." So it's kind of along those lines. But anyway, we basically we open up in a stadium right next door. You just have to get there by going to the YouTube channel. Of course, you're listening to it. So let me go ahead and now I'm still working my way over to the other event. Things start to slow down when I'm streaming and using the encoding software, so my system starts to go a little bit slow. And I did pass the link on to Tank, so Tank has the Zoom meeting link, and so I'm sure he'll be joining in the next 10 minutes or so. I did inform him just before getting on that this was what was going to be going down. It's good that we can reorganize pretty quickly. So I think the last time this happened, we really get started for 20 minutes in, but I got a little bit of a jump on it today. So, okay, interesting. All right, well, I can't go to the events. It's not showing them. All right, well, I hope everyone can make it over, and we'll just start from here. Again, welcome. Let me do a couple things. Now, I did the series starting with Tank called GCR The Big Lie. And just a little quick update for that. I got word from my partners that the GCR was moving forward and it was going to happen, this coming week. I said, okay. Nothing new there, right? So it's always the same thing. And if it happens there, it happens there. A lot of money to get out and do things, and we'll see what happens if it happens. But I just don't see it happening. I think that the system has been completely taken over by Kim. Her quantum financial system has been able to circumvent them. Basically, created two more levels above them, and then cut them out of the section that they were in and put all the operations up above. So they're now scrambling to make these things happen. So let's just say that we're going to have some interesting events happening this week, and we'll be talking more about sovereignty because it is important to understand when we're talking about sovereignty, what we mean. And I did cover a lot of that yesterday. I got other news to talk about. Now, I just saw a video that popped up just before coming on by Neil Keenan, and I've always enjoyed watching Neil. Especially when I was, the first thing I know is he's got a lot of information on him about him suing him on behalf of the Dragon families to get access to these large amounts of money. And I've heard, people say, "Oh, he's CIA and he's this or he's that," or whatever this, it doesn't matter. I got a lot of good information from him, and I always appreciated what he was doing. But you know, I told Tank I've met five individuals that say they're the ones that make the signature, that make things happen. And if any one of them was able to do it, then that would be great. But none of them were, and it's always a delay, not there, not happening now. So, according to where we are in this, we're in a much different situation, and I know I think Neil Keenan was saying that Benjamin Fulford has said that he was dead, but I guess he's popping up to say he's not dead. Of course, then they'll say he's a clone, and, and off we go again. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that he has made a recent video. If you like to follow Neil, go ahead and look that up. Also, I wanted on the front with TBC, Kringle Society. I've had some people joining, and there's actually a contest that's going on. It actually just finished, and it's a weekly contest. It's the first one. What you get if you bring in the most number of people to join our Kringle Society, then you'll be rewarded with 40 grains of gold in value in Bitcoin. And why in Bitcoin? Because it's easier to move it into even banks. And, here in the Philippines, I could literally go to 7-Eleven to get Bitcoin. Can't give them Bitcoin, but I can pick up Bitcoin. But in banks around here, you can go in and deposit. Union Bank, the largest bank here in the Philippines, is also a Bitcoin miner. So anyway, so that's one of the reasons it's paid out in that fashion. But the real value in the Kringle coins is that it's being given to as a form of medium of exchange, and it's basically referenced by the price of gold currently and by the number of members that we have. So it comes up with a value for that coin and the price that you will transact on that day. So anyway, if anyone, I think this week will be a very interesting week. It'll be like the second week of doing this contest. And I think, I'd appreciate anyone who wants to join in, come on in and help bring up my numbers, see if I can win the 40 grains of gold, which translates to about $500. That's pretty good. I did make the offer also last week, which we got interest, and why I said, I can, maybe I get a lot of people in to win this. Why I made the offer was, you're going to partner with me, then that means you'll buy $100 worth of TBC coin for me, Kringle coin for me. Why I keep saying TBC and Kringle, it's like saying dollars or pennies. The references are, the TBC value is so high, it's hard to transact in whole coins. So we deal with the pennies, the small part, called Kringles. But if you get $100 in Kringles for me, which actually we're supposed to reference in grains of gold again. So, so the grains of gold are equivalent to about $400 worth. It's probably a little bit more right now, but say about $100 worth. Then you partner with me. I'll actually pay not only for your lifetime wallet fee, but for 2 of your friends. They just have to use my link, but you're partnering up. I'll bring 2 of your friends in with you for that. So we'll see if we can bring in a bunch of people. All right. So I got my commercial out of the way. All right. So I usually do it at the end. And see what else. We're looking at seeing how well these new terms that they've come up with, since Kim was able to move directly into an account and set up these alarm bells, and then Secret Service ended up contacting her, so they had to come to some sort of arrangement because now that she's bypassing everyone. Now, Tank had said that they're friendly towards Kim. Their job is to protect the dollar, right? and since the current dollar out there, 80% of it is, according to them, counterfeit because of the not having these allocation numbers. And I kind of knew about this, but I didn't know a lot of the detail behind it. So it's always a learning experience for certain things. But how it's downloaded from the asset to get the allocation number, and that allocation then goes to allow for the printing of the cash, or if it's not printed, at least in digital in the system. So so this is the current system that I think is going to be that we'll be working with this week. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I don't know, but it seems like if they're right at that point and they've come to terms, something should start happening. And I'm sure we'll get some sort of update whenever Tank gets online here. So we will see what that if I'm off base or not. There was something else. I was going to invite another to join us. He is in the Philippines, and he's been working towards his own projects here. In the Philippines, there are a lot of people that are in the position, to say that they have a claim towards, say, the gold that's sitting here or whatever. And you can go back to before 400 years ago, before the Spanish arrived, right? And the kingdom that was here, Maharlika, and reference from there and say, okay, you can follow the line forward and say, okay, now they're claiming that they're the ones to now handle this. Then there's the ones that are, related to Marcos, daughters, sons, or others just that have were in a position to head of trusts, or the Alpha Omega, or so on. It gets very a lot of different stories. So who is the actual one, right? So now, who I was going to invite on to come on and join us, and looks like we have Tank joining us. Hello, Tank. How are you?
I am well.
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just wanted to check and make sure that you were coming through. And let's look. Let me switch to the gallery view. I kind of think this is a good view. Anyway, I was just informing our participants here in our broadcast that about the people here in the Philippines a little bit different, because we have so many different factions that are claiming to have access to the asset, or they have the right to it, and they're going to now set up their projects and so on. So I have a friend of mine here who's been working on this. He's a Datu, which was also a form of king here. His people are in the Mindanao region. And Rowe has been, working with me for the last, it's over a year now, but in the Kringle Society and TBC Coin, and helping to, giving out the ability for people to get the accounts and then alleviate poverty this way. So the other way is having access to the assets and his projects. So in other words, he's been making plans on how to, eliminate poverty in the Philippines. And so he was asking me, well, how would that work now, working with Manna World Holding Trust? And so I was going through, I said, well, take care of yourself first, and then and make sure you're cleared for working on your projects. I said we'll have to like talk that out and see, how do you want to go about this? And I said when I was going to invite him to come on and talk with us here, but I really can't do this in the setup we have here with Zoom. So, I mean, I can, maybe towards the end of the call or that, because this version of Zoom will cut out if I bring a third person on after 40 minutes. So that's why I can't bring on anyone else, because we have a tendency to go over 40 minutes. Oh, you're
You know what?
you might want to cut your video because of the you're getting a little bit of lag.
No problem. I will do that now. Let's see. Stop video? Yes.
That would be the one. Yes. Yeah. On Zoom, it's stop video.
Wow. That's much more ominous, isn't it, than the galactic unicorn people don't know used to seeing?
That's it. That's Project Speak. Yeah.
That's the tank logo, actually, that I made with my sons like 7 years ago.
No, I'm not seeing the logo at the moment. I'm just seeing the words Project Speak.
Oh, too bad. Okay. Yeah. So all of these different versions of what people want to do for projects. What do you think, Dan, in like your opinion, what would it look like if you were to take people like you were saying that Neil Keenan is the new? Did we distinguish what that title is yet?
Yeah, he said it. I know. When I heard it, I was kind of like in the other room, and he said, "What did he say?" I said, "He said that he's the Shanana," and I went, but I know it wasn't Shanana, but it kind of sounded like that,
right?
But I don't know what that title is. I don't, but it's the first time I had heard it, and so it's where it comes from, and that it's good to know. I said I've always enjoyed listening to Neil Keenan in the past. I mean, I learned a lot in the very beginning when I was first getting into that from what he was saying about dragon families and the lawsuits and things that he did. And I also heard other people say, "Well, he's CIA," and everyone thinks I'm CIA. Right? So I say, no, I'm not CIA, but that only goes to show that I am CIA because I deny it.
Right. That's exactly what somebody who is CIA would say, is that they weren't CIA.
Yes. And because I say it, that must mean I am CIA. But no, I'm not CIA. I promise. But I don't know if Neil is or not, and it really doesn't matter. I got a lot of information from him over the years, and now he's popped back up because he said Benjamin Fulford said that he was deceased, and so I may think maybe he was making sure to say, hey, I'm still here, but now I'm in the Amana or whatever. I'd like to finish watching the video, but it came on. I just saw it pop up just before I was getting ready here. Good thing I got on early and saw that the Hangouts was not going to be working correctly, so I could switch us over and do the streaming with encoding software.
Yeah, I think that's a great bypass. Like when everybody else is down, man, we're still up and rocking. I like it.
Well, the Mueller report is out, right? And so now it's exonerated Trump, and everyone is there's some that are criticizing the report on how Mueller did it because they kind of on the obstruction, kind of like left it like in the hands of Barr, like it's a question, right? And he shouldn't have done that, according to some people. That's not appropriate, for what he was tasked to do. Wasn't his with the way he put it there. But anyway, that's some point. But it's exonerated, Trump, across the board because, Barr came out and said, yeah, no collusion, no obstruction. And so, oh, we got some noise there. Hello. Hello, hello. They're trying to obstruct our conversation. Hello, hello. Hello. I don't know what to do with that. I'm muting you. I don't know why that is coming through like that. I'll try unmuting you, see if it changes. Nope, still there. Tank is now taking off in the helicopter. He's going to the launch pad so that he can go to outer space and become the galactic unicorn. No. Tank, not still bad, Tank. I suggest that you come back in, get off and come back in. Anyway. Okay. Technical difficulties. Yeah. It's good we had an alternative to get around it and then end up with another problem. Anyway, so, I also learned from Benjamin Fulford, along the way, picking up on these things. I love, how some of the information that, the first time I heard the term Khazarian Mafia came from Benjamin Fulford. And then come to figure out that that's a very good way to, I guess put a label on that. Because you don't want to get into the issue of like saying it's Jewish people are the problem or the Zionists, because then that seems like it's the Jewish people. But if it's the fake Jews that are really
even when you say that, you're set up to be called you're racist or anti-Semitic.
Sure. Yeah, but most of my friends, since my adult life, my friends have been Jewish who I hang out with. So, I can say that I don't believe any of them were in the Khazarian Mafia. And that's really what we're talking about, which is a group of people that are from a particular area who adopted Judaism and then changed it into Satanism. And then pretended to be...
No. They were Baalists. Right, which are Satanists, right? Baal is just one of the many names of various satanic gods who believed in like human sacrifice, things of that nature. And they were tearing up. So Constantinople made them conform. And he said, "Look, you gotta figure it out. Choose a religion, Christian or Jew, or some people say they had a choice between that and
Muslim or Christian." And they came back and says, "We got you. We'll be Jewish."
Yeah, there's some variation on that stuff,
Yeah, no, I'm definitely adding some poetic license to this because
I wasn't just like that. You sure are?
Yeah, so it's very there because more information. I got a lot of information from Thomas Williams, laying out things, and it is an education. It's almost like a university degree. But the only way to get this info is really by watching this alternative media, shows like this one, and Thomas Williams, Benjamin Fulford, and other people's have now picked up on the understanding that what that means, that segment, and we really bring it back to Satanists, the Satan worshippers, child sacrifice, and so on. So the evil part of this, right, and then that also takes you into the creation of Israel, put together by the Rothschilds.
That's a really hard one for people to stomach.
I know because there's documentation of saying the Rothschild said we're going to do this and we're going to get Israel out of it, right? So
the accounts down, and when that happened, there's a reason why, the Palestinian people are furious, right? Like, there's a reason. Even with Iran, like, you always hear Iran, they'll be like, death to America, or, they're so anti-American. That's what they'll show. Well, they'll show, they're anti-Israel, right? But the reality is they're talking about something totally different than what we're talking about.
Right.
We hear death to America, we get scared. So we're immediately like, oh, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that, like, we should partner up with Iran because they're going to love us. It probably isn't going to happen, right?
Right.
Because it's broad-based, cultural distinctions now at this point. And what we do is we generally, the sins of the leader become the sins of all the people. So all of, what is perceived to be leadership, which is true, right? Because our leadership's been infected, but really they've been controlled, right, by forces above them. But they're all complicit. I'm not trying to let them off the hook. I'm just saying. But
it's
Iran, they're talking about
through my life I recognized very early on that the problem was that the Democrats and Republicans were the same, and it was just sending us down the same road. So anytime someone would come up and give me one of these opinions, right, from the left or the right, and I immediately say, You're focused on the wrong part. Look at the bankers. That's where the problem is, and they're controlling the money, and they create a distraction by you talking bad about this group or that group, the other group. Doesn't matter what group you're in. We're all in essence talking bad against another group. So just to get out of that mode of talking bad about other groups, just focus on the only one bad group is the bankers. Of course, I have two partners that are bankers, but they're the good bankers.
It's tough though. It's really the good bankers. That's funny.
No, they're good bankers.
I'm sure that I don't doubt that they're fine.
Watch what you say there.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not your friend. I'm just saying it's just so hard. It's so hard to conceive of anyone not being on the take, at least on some level, right, and complicit, are willing to kind of turn a blind eye to something, right? And for the most part, people are like, that doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's like, but you kind of got to, that's like where like the ethics and accountability, right, comes into the real problem.
Yeah, well, you've pegged it, and you have to actually know what morality and ethics are. Because they are very much part of a group. There's actually different ethics and different morality in different groups. Like the ones that are in the cabal, they think that they're being ethical because they're informing us how they're enslaving us and killing us and so on. That's their ethics, and that's
a great point. Yeah, you're right, because they basically everybody has their own code. And that's why we have to redefine the code, right?
Right.
Because everybody will operate. It's like a lion doesn't feel any guilt when it kills a gazelle, right?
Right.
And if you haven't, everyone should go read the Ruiners blog when the letter comes out from Cassandra. And Cassandra is one of the parents in the order, right? I believe.
Yes,
like
that's correct. I did read that.
And that letter to me, every time I read that, I think this is exactly what they think of us, and with good reason, by the way, because she's right. She says, she's like a lion, we take what we want because you let us.
Yeah, and expect us to continue down that path, and for the most part, it's the habit, of acting a certain way, generationally, that we're dealing with. It's becomes part of, even though we might be upset about it, we go along with it because everyone else is, right? And we really have to break that pattern. And this is again the title of this series right now is Sovereignty 101. What it means to be sovereign, and that doesn't mean that you're just going to go along, right? It means you're going to be responsible and not try and pass the buck to other people. Yeah, it's a very strange for people when we talked about the quantum financial system. We'll tie it in here a little bit. Is that when you're thinking about things at the quantum level, you have to see that you're 100% responsible for everything in your life, your whole reality. You're 100% responsible, and this one thing makes it so difficult for certain people to say, no, because that one did that to me, or this one did this to me. Whatever they did, right. It's your reality that you're dealing with it, right? And you've put yourself into the position to deal with it, right? It's your manifestation. And again, their reality and perception is completely different. They'll have their own morals and ethics, right? It's like when you, I guess part of what a religion is supposed to do is to give you a common morality and a common ethics, and to react from that position to with everyone else in the group. Everyone says, well, you should be doing this like we're all acting this way. This is where we're agreeing is good for everybody. And those that go against it, well, it's a problem. So you take the basics. I think the 10 Commandments are a good place to start. If you wanted to boil that back down to, I didn't know we lost you for a while. So man, you're not in a good spot again. I muted you. You'll have to jump off and jump back on again. So the religion is our common place where we see this is our morality and our ethics, and then if we go to say the 10 Commandments, so that basically labels it as Christian, right? 10 Commandments, and if you read what they are, you kind of absorb what they are, and you kind of follow that. Don't steal, don't covet, right? Be respectful, you will be okay within the group. But if you take Satanist side, you'll be in with a group that's going to say, hey, it's okay if we kill your children, right? Because by the way, we told you about it in movies. Now, I don't really see why they think that's okay, but from their point of view, that's their ethics. That's moral. So when we start, again, bringing it back to the sovereignty, is we have to act in a way that we are in unison in our self to act and take responsibility. And part of that is, not waiting for a GCR and moving forward and doing things, like building a business, and don't wait. Working on setting up a project through Go Camelot, right? Don't wait. Get in there. Get started. Participating in the Kringle Society. Don't wait. Come on in and join in. So. But you have to take responsibility and not wait for something else to happen, or this circumstance, these set of circumstances have to be just right, and then it's okay for you to go there. Mostly because there's some sort of fear. Well, I guess part of sovereignty is being fearless, knowing exactly what you're going to be doing, because you're clear about who you are and what you're doing. Kind of hard to be sovereign if you don't know who you are and don't know what you're doing, and you're always fearful. So.
That's right. Yeah. I think that's a great.
You're back.
Fearless and incorruptible. Yeah, I'm sorry. I could hear you. I didn't realize I was muted.
You go ahead.
Fearless and incorruptible. Those are the. That's a kind of a simple way to live. I mean, because if fear feeds your enemy, then your enemy, so to speak, is devouring you. That's a value that we can all. I mean, if we just started with the core principles of survival.
So I'm
right?
on
Being
the
fearless
broadcast.
be essential. They've actually trained us to be afraid of everything.
Hello.
To tell us.
I can't. I mean, you can just go to my YouTube.
I was thinking about this with
but I can't
get
you on
because you have
generations
and generations
with Hangouts.
in a sense that have
it was a technical difficulty,
their
so
DNA in us and
bring
their messages, right? And all that carries messages. So I never understood why they would talk about reparations for
anyway,
people now.
I just talk about
things that other people did that enslave people in the United States.
Well, I'll talk to you later.
But you realize that's a trick. By paying them for that, it's just another term to make it seem like slavery is a good deal. That's what they're trying to do. Everything they're presenting all the time, all these different options, are different ways they're trying to seduce us into taking the same deal.
Right.
Well,
it's
every
the
time
gilded cage.
Sign on it.
What a gilded cage is a beautiful cage. Right. It's a cage with cable TV, internet, Wi-Fi. You've got health care and food deliveries. They'll make it a very nice cage. Just get comfortable.
Oof. That terrifies me just thinking about that. Makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, that's you have to say, well, it's okay. I'll do it for myself, even if I have to build my log cabin on my land and grow my food. That's what it takes. All right, but I'd rather be in a community that's of other sovereigns and other people that are, growing food and participating, or at least using their skills, even if that's it's not just about chopping wood and farming. It could be building web pages and everything. We just I'm bringing down from the very base level, but it means everything. Sovereign astronauts. In the secret, in the
whatever it is.
Yeah, in the Space Force. So it's a different understanding of who we are, and we have to discover that for ourselves because we've been so separated from it. We've been in the gilded cage for a long time. And our family is born in the gilded cage, and we don't even actually know that we're, batteries in the matrix, right?
Yeah. Also in this, what I realize about sovereignty, right? It's a spiritual designation, right? If you listen to Tui, he was talking about, the trust, having one of the things deposited in the trust is souls, right? I mean, that's like something you see out of a movie, right? Like, devil came down from Georgia, right? Made a challenge
he's looking for some souls to
take your soul.
He was in a bind. He was out of time, but he's looking to make a deal.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
I used to do karaoke to that. I used to do karaoke to that song.
Yeah. I love that. I'm from the country. Like my family is like duck hunter country. Like big old long beard, big barnstorming redneck guys, and all that stuff. I think about it all the time. And they were always so defiant up in the woods. They kind of enslaved themselves in totally different ways. They got so bound by one thing and then another. But when you think about the power of what it means to have a free soul or a free spirit, because your spirit is virtually unlimited, right? There's nothing everything is spirit materialized, right? Everything, the source, substance, limits, bounds, essence, and origin of all things is a spirit substance. Some of us call it plasma or the God particle, but it's all comes from the same ultimate source. So if you look at yourself as being free on the soul level, what I find is that the more I have that as my focus, and I realize how at peace I become with it, and the more at peace I am with it, the more I realize things just happen, just according to the way they're supposed to. right before we started doing this broadcast, I was speaking to an energy worker, and she was lovely, Faye. She's in our group. She's one of the creators, and I asked this question. I said, Faye, I just feel like there's something else I'm supposed to do to help this move forward. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's somebody outside of our group, and I can't tell if it's someone inside or outside of the people I already know. She said, she was using her crystals or whatever. She said, it's someone outside the group, and yes, you're right, you have to do something else. The next day, Dan called. So I feel that the best way to really be free is to be in alignment, with the higher power or the greatest good, right? Depending on what you want to be, what you want to do. So I've had this war my whole life, man, with God. My whole life. I could not understand how I could be myself and be okay with God. I couldn't figure it out because when I grew up Baptist, oh my goodness, the nightmares and the things that they would do at the church. You are all sinners. You better do this or you're going to hell. All these things. It's like, what a weight. What kind of God is this? It was terrifying. Then I left that I found a religion. The religion proved everything, according to the body and the Bible. I loved that. I got to preach, got my minister's license. But there, it was the same message. You are a satanic spirit. The only way you'll be saved is by you. It's like all of these things that, that we've been trained to believe just aren't true. Yeah. And they're really hard to untrain us from.
Well, you had mentioned that, there was an agreement that was put into place or a contract of some sort for souls. And, you look at the conversation that's around us when we hear stories. That the story is going to say, well, you get to sell your soul to the devil, right? And that's part of the of this conversation that takes place, right? We're always hearing about that, right? So somewhere someone wrote up a document, right, and had some people sign it. And so you can imagine that maybe there is an overriding, bigger agreement that, may be signed by leaders that said the same thing. You gather, the souls will be in here. You get the gilded cage, but your soul is reprocessed, right? You get to go through this again and again, and you return and recharge the next battery.
Listen, I've got a whole theory on this. You want to talk? This is just theory. This is conspiracy theory. Please notice the difference. This is not based on any hard facts, but certainly will be entertaining. The Secret Service came into existence in 1865, right, with Abraham Lincoln. And how like a lot of these movies that are way out there, you think that could never be, and then you find out later like that's the real version. So there's this version of a story about Abraham Lincoln where he's a vampire hunter, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that movie.
But it was a great. I liked it. I loved that flick, right? Mm-hmm. Because I could really appreciate like, oh, that really could have happened, right? Because you probably did have these guys who were, what we call now, the cabal. They're all drinking blood. Yeah. Pretty much they're vampires, right? To extend their life. Yep. So you can see how, he set up the Secret Service. I think the Secret Service was to, I'm not sure if it was to serve the secret societies, or if it was, to manage the secret societies, because that's where all the vampires were. He set them up, and that's why they managed the dollar, right? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, that's what this agreement is. Sometimes I can go over the top, but I know it. But it wouldn't surprise me because the Secret Service is the first. It's like the first intelligence agency, right?
Well, you started this off with saying Abraham Lincoln, vampire slayer. So yeah, you could be over the top, but
yeah, a little bit.
But it was a good movie. I know it's good seeing Abraham Lincoln there swinging that axe.
Yeah. I think. Well, they used to say that. I've heard this many times. The Secret Service has been made up of different galactics for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, I want to make one little comment because I just caught myself doing this, and some people ask me, are you doing something? Why are you always like rubbing your nose like this? And the implication being, maybe I'm doing some sort of drugs, but no, I have a fan blowing on me, right? Because it's and that constant blow of the air, ends up, tickling the end of my nose or something like that. So that's what it is, just in case people were wondering.
It's funny you say that. I thought the same thing. I heard myself on a video and I was like everyone's gonna think I'm doing coke because I'm always sniffing. I just have allergies.
Yeah. Well, this is my summertime here, and it's in the 90s, and it can get a bit humid, but that's it's okay. I like the warmth. Anyways, a little sidetrack there, but I just wanted to, because I remember that people a couple of times have made the comment and go, really, it says, and then I just caught myself going like that. So I said, oh, that's what it is. So people are hypersensitive, looking for any kind of like signs of things and trying to figure out things. Should I listen to these words of these people?
Yeah, I know. I think about that all the time. I'll analyze my own words and be like, oh, that could be used against me. Probably should have said that differently.
Yeah.
But it's okay. At the end of the day, it's like we're all flawed. Everyone, all these productions. I was listening this morning, and I want to take this broadcast apart. I was listening to Bloomberg, and this woman with her self-righteous indignation, the broadcaster, was just going off about Trump, right? And they were saying things that are just not true, right? It's like, even though the Mueller report has concluded there is absolutely no collusion, they're all still talking about it. And at this point, they're making it openly saying impeachment's inevitable. It's going to happen. Based on what? Based on the fact that you're a bunch of criminals and you want to waste taxpayers' money? You just spent who knows how many millions of dollars to do a 2-year investigation that yielded nothing other than evidence that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, paid to have a dossier created that was completely fake. Why aren't you doing something about that?
Right. And of course, it's part of this still the same programming of people and that their groups and their own morality, their own ethics, and they think that they're doing the right thing, and it's very difficult for people to stop and analyze themselves, critically analyze themselves, and that's hard for people. But that being said, the QAnon positioning of things and how the revealing of information over time. Really, if you look back and go back 18 months ago when QAnon first came out, and say, well, if we did mass arrests 18 months ago, what would that have looked like to the regular people out there? And now, where we sit now, mass arrest, if it happens, there's going to be 30 million people immediately going out and saying, listen, this is what's really going on and why this is good, and don't freak out. Right? And you'll have another 100 million that are kind of like already like kind of a little bit aware of it. So the others that are going to be upset, they'll have to start that critical thinking, right? And say, why is this happening? Why is all this going on right now? And some of them will never hear it and never want to self-analyze. But we're in a much better position now for that to happen, for this, self-analyzing, and and they can, if they want to become sovereign, they're going to have to really, think about where they've been and what information they've been fed, and they can see that it's been a lie now for 2.5 years about Russian collusion. Where'd that come from? Well, it's a report that was paid for by Hillary, and why was it even listened to? Because it was his opposition saying bad things, and throwing dirt. So.
Well, did you see the report here? I mean, just to paint the picture a little bit, it's alleged deep state agent, CIA agent David Anthony Ruck claims to be a CIA deep state agent born in Connecticut, and he says that he was instructed by John Podesta, acting under the authority of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, to orchestrate the New Zealand mosque shootings. Right?
Interesting.
So now, something like that comes out, seems like that would be hitting the mainstream, doesn't it?
It would.
It's like, wow, that's a pretty big deal.
That's the
first. And if you're not guilty, wouldn't you be, kind of like if you're not part of that, right? As far as the mainstream media, because now they're talking about holding the mainstream media responsible for their irresponsible reporting and their obvious bias to participate in a coup against the president based on false information, right?
Yeah, well, I think that this is part of part of this psyop, right? It's basically to rearrange people's to look at things critically from the standpoint of they're on one side of this, believing in the stories that were told about Trump, and now it looks like evidence is against that, and that's going to wake up enough people that when they start looking at the news, how can they have been feeding us all of this garbage for so long, right? And there's no foundation in it. Why were they forcing us to believe this way? And then that gives them the ability to maybe correct themselves in a way that makes them more in alignment with what they feel now is the truth. So that's what that's the battle, is that it's hearts and minds, right? How do you get to the point where people want to not be in the gilded cage, not want to believe the worst about their neighbors. It's like always the other side is bad, the other side is bad, the other side is bad. So and it's
one of the things that I find interesting, right, is there's certain things that have been trained into us that are trigger terms, right? So it's never explained why it's believed that Trump is a racist, for example, right? Now, all you have to hear is that terminology together, and people will just jump on that, right? And, well, he's a racist, and they, most people have no idea why they're saying that, right?
Right.
And usually, if they have any reference at all, it's usually something taken completely out of context, right?
Right.
And it's not to say that the man's never made, a racially insensitive comment. I'm sure he has, but that's he wasn't a politician. He was just a businessman, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of kind of general stereotypes that that we realize they come from something based in truth. A lot of things, and that happens all the time. And so if you were just talking about something, and somebody had a viewpoint that was bias against a group, any kind of bias against an entire group, essentially.
Well, let's look at this. We have a Democrat Party that's looked at as being on the side of the native, on the side of the black people, and if you trace back the roots of everything, all of their leaders were actually part of the Ku Klux Klan, and they've been part of the the old school people, right, that have been there, but they came out and they changed the topic, and they basically made it all about, well, that we're for the black people, right? But their policies were never really benefiting, but they kept saying so, and they dressed up their policies to make it seem like it was a good thing for that particular group of people. And even though their leaders were like part of the Ku Klux Klan, and still were, along the way, and they still had these attitudes, they wouldn't, the people that already made the decision to agree with them, that were in that black community, they start going down that road, and they don't want to be wrong about their choices. So they keep, ignoring the evidence to the contrary. And over time, the whole group, when you're on the grassroots level, believe that they are for black people and their rights, and they want to do the best things for them. But at the top echelon, that doesn't change. They're still of that old guard. They're still, racist, to put it bluntly, right? And it's hard for the people to do hashtag walk away in the Democrat Party, a few years ago, but now it's happening much more, at a higher rate, because people are like fed up, and they said, we've been lied to. This is not real. So that's happening more and more. So there's a lot that's going to be happening now. That this blockade has been removed, and the QAnon is pointing out the blockade's removed. Barr is in place. He's got the Mueller report. Firewall is gone. So what is now going to happen? Declassification. Then it's going to be followed by indictments being unsealed against Hillary and Obama and Bush. All the big ones, and they're going, and it's going to be a shock for a lot of people. And the news media, who's been now made to look like they're so, in the bag for the Democrats, that they've cut their own throats. So when Obama was in office and he put into place the executive order that says that in a national emergency, and is there a national emergency right now at the border? There's a national emergency. Everybody knows that there's a national emergency. That that the president can take over the social media sites, YouTube, and Facebook, and Twitter. So I don't think they planned on giving that power to Trump. They were going to give that power to Hillary. Take over the social media and stomp out the conservative voices. So, it's a well orchestrated plan, and it's unfolding. And so you get your popcorn out and you kind of can watch, but then you got to take action.
Well, I look at these principles that happen over and over and over again, right? And people will get behind them thinking they're backing something, right? Like right now with the environment. So for the longest time, you talked about if you didn't believe in, global warming, like you were an imbecile, right? How could you possibly think that, right? When Trump came out saying that, they mocked him in the media, called him a conspiracy theorist. It's ridiculous. And for the most part, if you were looking at it, from New York, New York is very liberal. And to be honest, I'm liberal-minded. I'm open-minded because I'm so used, because that's what it really means to be liberal, right? Not the monster it's become. But we take these labels and we make them mean something else, right? And so they pit us against each other, right? And the news is very regional, right? So depending on the paper, the outlet, the way all of the online marketing works, right? They'll give you the news that feeds your particular region, right? And so everybody gets fed what they want to hear, basically. And so if I want to be filled with hate, towards Trump, there's plenty of news to back that up, right? If I want to be filled with, hate towards the Democrats, there's plenty of news to back that up. But at the end of the day, at some point, the real defining factor, it's the very thing that people lose campaigns about. It's flip-flopping, right? When you flip-flop on an issue, we're all convinced that is bad. You used to say this, now you say this, you flip-flopped, right? And they'll dog you in the media for it. But the reality is, if I was wrong about something, and I'm a leader, don't you want a leader who says, hey, I was wrong. I was looking at that wrong, and I've changed my stance on it because I didn't have it right. and isn't worried about the vote so much as he is about actually being a leader, and actually making the best decisions for the people. That's what you want in a leader. Now, everybody who's gained popularity and made a living, by being one way, you know what? The real test of character, the real test of will, the real magic in this whole thing is where I'm looking for those people to change their stance and take an honest stance, right? And not a catastrophic one, like some people come out and it ruins their whole career, but it doesn't have to. It could be just as easy as saying, look, this is how I believed based on information I was receiving. And I received more information, and now I was wrong, and immediately imagine, now granted that'd probably be their last broadcast, unfortunately, but that's the kind of thing that changes everything. That's the kind of move that starts to make people wake up and realize, when prominent figures take the high character stance, I think that's where.
Well, yeah,
we gotta find that.
I think that when people change their mind, right, the people around them that are looking at them that want to call them bad, right, or they want to troll them, they want to make them in some way point out how wrong they are. It has a lot to do with some kind of score to settle. You were on the wrong side of the argument. Now you're switching over. So, either way, either you're on the new pro side or you're still against the change, right? You're going to get both sides, coming after you, right? Instead of, just, allowing people to have the space to correct, themselves. Right, and they create this negative energy around people trying to change, and that actually causes them not to change, right? Because they try to go again with the conformity of the gilded cage. They want to keep going with the flow. Don't rock the boat.
Yeah. Stay in your lane. All those things. I know. All these different pieces that basically have convinced us to stay in our compartmentalized existence, separate from each other, and it's easy to control the narrative if you allow people to stay in those chambers. That's why, Thomas Williams is always pounding about this, about taking down the media, and really forcing, forcing the truth out in the media. The free press, the idea of the free press is to be the fourth arm of the government, right?
Right.
Being able to have access to certain places and be able to hold them accountable by reporting the truth. That's where transparency comes in. And now that version of the free press has actually been made possible by the efforts of the cabal to, map us further with social media. And it backfired on them because, social media ended up being the gateway for all of people like you and me to be able to start talking and getting a message out that's actually exploring the truth. Now, granted, they still suppress the message, right?
Right.
That's a fact. I know that we'll be broadcasting live, and people are telling me, where are you guys? We can't even find you.
Yeah.
They can't find you at all, Dan Lutz at all. All these different things. They're always suppressing the message, right?
If you do a search on Facebook, you do a search. Someone said, I searched your name and I couldn't find your channel. Well, my channel name is my name, right? It's one word, with no space in between. But you can't put a space. So, if it should be able to find me. But yeah, it's definitely a suppression. But I've experienced that, since I did my first videos, right? I hit the big time quick. they knocked mine down so fast, that was going up at 4,000 views an hour. It was at 86,000 views, and boom, went to zero. They still keep knocking it down every time it goes up. It still gets views. But
I had a video go over 20,000, which to me was by far the most anyone had ever watched anything I'd said, at least to my knowledge. The next day, they changed the policy at YouTube that they weren't going to promote anything conspiracy theory related. I was like, oh, that's a convenient coincidence.
Yeah, it's like, but why do they need to do that? What is their problem with the conspiracies? I mean, most of the people, are so done listening to the same stuff that they're being fed. This is one of the other points. Is like Google's, goal is to provide you with one answer. Well, that's stupid.
Corrects my spelling all the time when I'm looking for things.
Well, yeah, that's one thing.
They don't want you to find it.
But if you're looking for a general topic about something, you don't know exactly what you're looking for. Getting a variety of answers actually then gives you the ability to think, oh well, let me go down this way and kind of pull out the information, research. But if they provide you one answer, they've become the oracle, right? You go to the oracle for the answer, and it would be a shame to lose such a great tool. And it's already, of that mind. I mean, I sometimes when I do a Google search, I'll literally, go to the bottom and see how many pages across I can go, and not go over 5 or 6 pages. Don't even look at the first results just to see what's there. I know that's not very common, and I don't even do it all at the same time. It's only when I'm researching something very broad and see if I can get some, specific, different angles at it. And then sometimes you don't even know what you're looking for, and you start researching, and you say, well, I'm using the wrong words to search. I picked up on this website, right? So I should start using this word in with my search, and boom, now you get much better results. So how would you even know? And they're gonna bring you one result.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think the most important thing. I think this is right. That the most important thing to do first is when we're able to clear funds and we have permission. I already have people that are actively, trying to create a true news network that will broadcast the truth in media. And the goal would be to have it be completely advertisement free, right? That way you're not, you don't have to abide by, the demands of your advertisers. Now you have to really do that with force though, right? To make it a reputable news source, because people are so sold on certain organizations. But what my belief is, it's like a restaurant. You have some restaurants that look great, and then you have restaurants that look terrible, but they have great food. So I feel like, eventually people come over to the restaurant with the great food. And that's what I feel like, we start creating that platform and just giving people the best possible, information, right, and allowing them to go and research it and really dive into it, right? And giving them what they need to be safe. I think it should be, I don't know. I guess it would be kind of like a hate crime, but if you're gonna do something to threaten somebody in the news, right, or try to bribe them, you are committing an act of treason, because and all of these newscasters, they are committing an act of treason. Make no mistake. The fact that they are altering the message to favor an agenda that is trying to kill the people, and this is their ignorance. They all think they are exempt because they have gained favor with the Great White Throne, right? Yeah. So that's the illusion, but they have not.
And they don't know the Great White Throne is gone.
No, that's the other thing too. It's a legend, but they're all bought in, and then these guys at the top, they used to have this technology, and the technology made other people believe they were gods, because they could do things. They probably had access to certain tunnels to travel through the planet, very fast, right? So you're talking to somebody on the phone in England, all of a sudden they're at your doorstep. I can see how that would be scary. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like things like that, So there's got to, and, I was thinking about this too. You said this the other night about exposing and really talking about what is happening everywhere. What is happening with, all the reality, because we do have to digest it, right? And we have to give people what they need to digest that truth, because it has to come out on some level. It has to, and it has to come out on a level enough that we're all able to have a very uncomfortable conversation, not about what everyone else has done, but what we have allowed to happen. And that's where the 100% responsibility comes into, is people don't like to be blamed for things. Now, don't get me wrong. We have been drugged, right? We have been abused, raped, killed, lied to, mind controlled. All those things are absolutely true. But at this point, you have major, major changes. Dan, we were talking about the Dark Ages, and I think it was like, there was something, I think it was like 750 years, 780, 80 years, something like that. You had the Charlemagne events, right? It was a tragedy on the planet. So in this, right, there's this belief like this was one of their major events they caused, right? All this chaos with. And now what they're saying is we're walking into this solar minimum. Now that's true. We are into a solar minimum. What they're saying is that it's combined with a decrease in the magnetic pull of the planet. Now, I didn't get a chance to get an answer from Kim about this, but that's not true. I'm pretty sure on that, because in reality, they're talking about the toroidal energy fields, which are really, right now, if that would have happened, we would have had major restructuring of all the continents, because we would have had water levels rise and all types of things happen. But that's not what's taking place. That's not going to happen.
Well, as far as I know, and of course I could have been getting erroneous information from different sources, but that the magnetic field has been dropping in its strength over the last couple decades. So I don't know if that's was bad information or not, but that's what I was working off of, that assumption that was occurring. And to have a solar minimum at the same time as that, I don't even know what that would occur. See, the way I see things, and I've always thought this, is that the energy of the light coming from the sun comes from the action of the planets rotating around it. That there's an energy feedback loop there, in which because the planets are going around the sun, it's putting this energy in, which is coming back in the form of light and heat. So, as things have a different magnetic field, they are going to basically, be able to, let's say if the natural occurrence for something was for it to start to flip, like a polar shift where you actually go north to south, that if that was part of something that was going to happen, the maybe not the cause, but a side effect of it would be the reduction of the magnetic field until it stabilized again, and then it shot back up, and then made that toroidal field much stronger. I don't know, what that a much stronger field would be like. Does that increase our oxygen level on the planet? So anyway, a lot of unanswered questions, because there's so much information out there, we don't know what is real, and then they throw in flat Earth and mud floods. So there's even more that they throw out there on it. But I do think the toroidal field can go in cycles, and it can coincide with the solar minimums and maximums.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Schumann resonance, right, of the planet, is like generally it's like 7.83, I think, something like that. Right? Now that's normal. And they believe that like when this shift came, we'd settle somewhere, in like the outer field of like 13 or 14, something like that. In the past 3 weeks since we started doing these calls, now I'm not correlating them, I'm just saying coincidentally, since we started doing these calls,
there are no coincidences.
The Schumann resonance has shot up as high as 180. Now think about that. That's the ether. That's the energetic field around the planet. So you're witnessing this, a measurable field that exists, an energetic field around the planet. And the regular scale expects it to settle out someday at around 14, and it's shooting as high as 180. That's incredible. I mean, that means it's just the energy being created by the planet is dramatically at a whole different level. And you have to really challenge if we're going to ever settle back down to a 7.83 at this point, because the planet's just vibrating at a higher place, and it's really a witness to the planet raising to a higher frequency. That is instead of being a descending planet, we are literally an ascending planet, right? In this ascension kind of a model, so to speak, and the whole planet is changing. Now that to me is amazing.
Well, that is amazing. Now, that's the first time I've heard that, but I'm sure it is because of our show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm certain. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's and even with the suppressed numbers, it can't stop the energy flow. And this is just the impression. It's a way to the mind control is we're not growing, we don't have people watching, and so on. But it doesn't matter. We just keep doing the show. I don't even like calling it a show because it's not really about a show. It's about information. It's about how can we identify what's going on, and like I didn't know that there was this increase in the vibration, and actually it'd be good to bring up some of the websites that are showing this charts and things. I love showing charts. I make a lot of charts, so.
You can check out. I think Joe Dispenza is the guy who's, he charts it all the time and he's always reporting on it. Okay. Yeah. But something else I caught on to today is there's all these things that are happening now, right? They're still perpetuating for fear's sake, right? Like they're saying that we've never had hurricanes like this. It's crazy. That's not true. 40 years ago, there was much more significant hurricane action than there is today.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that they state them as fact, and what they do is they just slowly erase the real history.
Right.
You can look at history books before they standardize testing, right? And the history books are totally different. All types of events, dates, everything is different. Like you're not going crazy because if your kid comes home and you try to. If you do
any digging about these things and you do your own research, don't just listen to what is being fed to you. Then you'll turn up and say, well, gee, look, there was a hurricane here, and look, there's these strange weather patterns that are happening inside where you have a zigzag, kind of round circle going back and forth in one area, right? And you have HARP, magnetic ray in Alaska, on and pumping out energy into the stratosphere. At the same time, these things are going on, right? And it turns off there, and that pattern disappears. So they're pumping energy into the storm. So if you want to have proof, you can find it, right? And there's people that are out there digging and showing this stuff. But you have to dig.
Why is it? Have you noticed that nobody's really talking about in the news the floods taking place? Like just kind of another. That's the third major world disaster or major disaster in the United States this year.
Oh, I did not know. Is there a flood?
There's floods in Idaho and Nebraska, and it's basically, it's gonna, it's wiping out cattle and houses and all types of fields, but it would kind of seem like it's a cleansing, right? They're cleansing. The planet is cleansing itself of these, toxins. It's getting rid of the whatever it's called, the weed killer that's everybody's,
Roundup. Oh, actually, so I actually received some videos sent from your group in Denmark about the Roundup and that, because they heard us talk about it on the show, so they sent it to me. Actually, there's been quite a few people for part of Create Change that have sent me some emails and the creative groups, so I appreciate all the information, and I try to respond as best I can. It sometimes takes a lot of time to sit down and do an email response. So forgive my short responses. I do sometimes make a very short response just because I'm pressed for time. And but I do like so that's why I like Telegram much better to keep up on things. The things tend to be more of a chat conversation, so they were shorter. So anyway, but the videos that I've seen a long time ago about Roundup, and not that long, maybe maybe a year ago, maybe a little more, about where the wheat farmers are using Roundup to kill the wheat before harvest, for the purpose of making an easier harvest on them. Because if the plant dies and it withers away and it's left behind as the wheat kernel, they're basically just shaking off the wheat kernel, much easier for them. And they throw away the dead biomass. But the problem is the poison is still on the wheat. But they wash it. But it doesn't get all of it off. And then you build up over time, this an intolerance to this poison. All right, your body handles it a little bit here and there. You have, you have some bread, and once in a while, your body's not going to give the bad result, right? But it's those people that eat it all the time. It's a big part of their diet. They end up with leaky gut syndrome and glucose intolerant. So. It's really about stopping, this kind of craziness. Just because it might be easier to do doesn't mean you get to poison everybody.
It's funny too, because the mentality that we've all been programmed with is one where we're almost afraid to ask for more. Right? It goes back to you with your family there at dinner in the Philippines, and you complain about the quality of the steak that you're given. Right, and what we would do, most of us, just accept it. Accept that you have food. Right now, there is something to be said about being grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm a believer in being grateful for wherever you're at. Triumph and tragedy, treat those imposters both the same. But
if it was a different story, let's say that in that instance, they said, well, we're out of food, right, and this is all we have left to serve. I say, okay, I understand. Thank you. Right? Well, I'd be grateful for eating, but but if they don't, if they don't know what they're doing to a customer, they lose a customer. So it's a difference. We want to be responsible, and part of responsibility is sometimes complaining. So. Your response able, right? You're not reactionary, right?
But you're responding, and you're able to respond in an intelligent way.
And it's not. It's also not trolling.
In a negative way.
It's not trolling. I mean, you're not going out of your way to find someone to have an argument with and give a viewpoint just to hear yourself talk. Right? There has to be a positive outcome. Someone was not aware, or it's like I just saw I had 555 videos. It will be 556 with this one. All right, and probably 2/3 of those are about TBC coin and teaching people about it. At a certain point, I really didn't want to have to get into any more conversations with people where they wanted to argue with me about why it had to be on a market exchange. Right? And I said, listen, I've done videos. Here, come go watch my. They don't only watch my video; they just want to have an argument. I have no want or need to basically engage you in an argument. I mean, I have a position. I show everything. All of my points are here. Right, and I've talked it out. Right, if you have a new point, no, you don't have a new point. It's just not real unless it's on an exchange. And I don't agree with that. So we're at a crossroads. You either accept what I'm saying. I don't need to be convinced because I have a whole library of points here.
Right.
Right. You go through those first, and then we'll have a conversation. But no, they don't want to have it. They don't want to open up their mind to the possibility of this. So, but
I think this is something that I hear all the time. That people call me with projects, right? And we're so trained to what I call false humility, right? Where we want one thing, and that's really why we're doing something. And instead, we play this humble card and we say all these things that we think the other person wants to hear. And we also tend to a lot of times people are trained to just feel so low about themselves that they're afraid to ask for more. They think they're being greedy, right? So they'll say things like, "Look, I don't need much. I just this, I just that. Like, I just want to be able to go to work. I just want to do that. And I'm like, when that happens, I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe this isn't for you then, because I'm looking for people that just want to be exceptional, that want to pursue greatness, that want to, that are sick and tired of being suppressed and oppressed and held back for the person they really are, right? I want people who are almost mad that they have to pretend to be something they're not, because this is the only way to survive in a world that doesn't really foster creativity and it doesn't reward innovation, right? Because they don't want those things to come out. They make them as difficult as possible. You have to go through patent processes, and you have to find ways to market it, and then you have to take on an investor, and whoever is going to invest is somebody who has never invented anything. They just have money, and you don't. And because they have money, they now get to own a portion of your company.
Right.
I've got some people down in Texas, and they've got this innovative, now not just a 3D printer, but a very innovative technique and a process and materials they're using that are environmentally friendly, and they foster healthy vibrations, and they do all these amazing things. I'm like, wow, like I didn't even know, and nobody does, because that's not out there, right? And it had this project for like 7 years, a completely innovative product. But to bring it out, you're going to have to teach all the construction workers brand new techniques. So because it's not immediately economically viable, it's a very hard product to bring to market. Now that shouldn't be the case, right? And that is the big difference when, which I ultimately think that we'll have to completely change the idea behind banks and really turn them into developmental centers.
One of the things I pointed out before about on using the Kringle coin as an example was when the value of that you were the profit that you were looking for was not in the selling of the product, but in the coin, holding on to the coin, and it was going up in value quickly. So when that was happening, that effect actually shifted all of the emphasis onto getting coin and holding on. So that also led to there was value in it. But of course, then you want to release it at a certain point because you want to release some of the value. So if you de-emphasize basically off of like reducing the quality of products so that they don't last as long, and you kind of like change the model where the focus is on getting coin. You want to get as much coin as possible, but if it's a higher price, you're not going to get as much coin. But you bring down the cost of the item you're selling to maybe your cost, and then you've got the coin and you're holding on to it, and then you've made your money off of the coin. That's just another model. Let's say that that's what, but the point is you de-emphasize these things that are not working in society and come up with a new way to make a model that makes these things more attractive. So higher quality products, longer lasting. Like we used to have durable goods that last 30 years. So everything that was like a washing machine or a car is supposed to last for 30 years. Who keeps a car right now for 30 years? Nobody. Right? But if you had it in the 1950s, you were going to think you're going to hold on to that car for 50 years. But ended up, it's always about getting the newer, better technology, and so that became the focus. Is like getting the new car because there's something more interesting, more new, more fancy, and that became the emphasis. So you always see you can create the scenario what you want to make, and I say focus on high quality, long lasting, high efficiency, and what is a model that makes that happen. So you can find those projects, and so if it's a better way of doing 3D printing, right? But the model in which it's working in the existing system doesn't make it financially viable because people can't buy it. Well, you make it viable. You change that model.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at this. I'm gonna, I want to take some of the free energy technology that I know of that's already in production. Just take that model and adapt it to cars, right? I mean, actually do that, not just pretend to and call it Tesla, but actually take it and make it so you have literally a completely free energy vehicle. And I want to take all these. I'm going to buy up all the 2008, 2009 Hummers I can get my hands on. I'm gonna adapt them. I'm gonna take this big gas guzzling vehicle and be like, it runs on no gas, like and completely change the perception of something, But it's well made. It's big strong vehicle.
Well, I think though it should still put out actually more CO2 though, because we need more CO2. The Hummers didn't put out enough. We need to actually increase that by tenfold.
It'd be great for the trees. That's a great point, Dan.
Yeah. So
because the more CO2 we have, the more oxygen we have.
Exactly.
Now we're starting to actually renovate the. Oh wait, we're actually reporting the real science on the way that works, right? The mentality,
Yeah, it's like carbon, CO2. That's the problem. You're joking.
I feel like they really were so cocky and lazy when they came up with that plan. They were like, what we should tell them is that there's too much CO2.
Well,
and that way we can completely justify massive genocide.
Yeah, well, they wanted to figure out a way that they can actually tax you for breathing and also farting. So they got you coming and going. So you're anything to tax, whatever it is, they're going to tax it. So you breathe out CO2. It's kind of hard to bill you after before you get the air, right? All right, because you die too soon. I don't have enough money to get more air. Oh no! Oh, you're dead. Oh, there goes our asset. Too many cattle are dying, but if they can get you after you breathe out, you're still alive. You just owe the money. You're in debt. That works.
They come in and take your inheritance. Is owed to your family.
That's so. These. It's like, but 3,000 scientists agree. Oh, but 30,000 don't agree.
Right.
What do you talk about those people? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot more that think that those guys are being paid off. You know, yeah. So I think we need to have that conversation. You know, but look, we're walking into this really amazing moment, right? I mean, we're in the moment, but you know, Monday morning, you know, we can literally wake up to a brand new world. And I mean, with everything that's in me, my whole heart, I know that you know, Kim has agreed to terms. You know, whatever that means, I don't know, because I haven't got another report from her, which means it's need to know, and I don't need to know. So, but I do trust, and I'm sure that that she's aware of the urgent need of the people. You know, there gets to be a point where it's just not funny, it's not cute, it's not okay anymore. You know, right. It's not okay for us to sit back and, you know, wait and have meetings while, you know, 16,000 kids are dying every day. You know, from starvation, which is ludicrous. Yeah. Right. Because, you know, you would hardly even need food, to be honest, if the planet was just not so poisoned. So it's not just that they're dying from starvation; it's that they're being poisoned in what they do get. Right. It's that they're being attacked. You know, and so in addition to 2 million kids that go missing every year, you know, 16,000 more are just dying on the vine. You know. Yeah. And I mean, that can't happen anymore. And this is one thing I think about all the time is, you know, this is why whenever people talk to me about, you know, like, cause everybody always says this to me, like, well, when this goes, you know, we're going to be doing X number, we're going to be planning just for this long. I'm like, no, we're not. We're going to be acting, and we'll plan as we go. Because we had all this time to sit while they have been trying to kill us. We've been planning. Yeah. When we're able to move money and we have the exact parameters, we'll be able to put that stuff together so fast, because there's so many people that are capable, that are ready, that are in position right now, yeah, who know exactly what a community needs, exactly what a town needs, exactly what they need, and we can address those things. And just as soon as that hits, immediately the vibration of the planet changes. Immediately the attitude, the hope, the spirit of humanity changes, because for the first time in our lifetime, in our parents' lifetime, their parents' lifetime, you have a viable option that the impossible is possible. Right. It's the first time ever. Yeah. And that, I'll tell you what, I'm so excited to step through that door, and so grateful to be a part of that. And I'll tell you, and I'm not going to be talking about, you know, I only need this. Like, you know what? Here's how I see it. These guys have had the best of the best, and they've hoarded it away. They've utilized the best materials, the best goods, the best clothing, the best cars, all these things. I don't have a problem, and no one is going to make me feel ashamed or guilty if I drive a nice car or if I wear nice clothes. You're not going to trick me into that trap, you know. And if tomorrow we were famous and they were trashing us on the media because we claim to be humanitarians, but look what we're driving, I'd be like, look, go right ahead and look, you know. You want one? Like, take a picture, because we shouldn't be ashamed because we have a particular taste, you know, because we like something. And on top of that, there's more than enough. So is your Hummer going to be a yellow, canary yellow? No, you know, I had a white Hummer. Oh, okay. Yeah. I always saw the canary yellow ones as extra special. So. yeah, they were. Those bright, dense neon color ones. Yeah. But just in case someone missed them, you know, they were not kind of invisible. You know, they kind of like blend into the background. But this is the camouflage. But. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he made it cool when he had that big Humvee, like the real military Humvee. Yeah. That was the mainstream numbers. I want to get the drone cars or the levitating
cars that are, there's a few that are out that are going to be moderately priced, so to speak, maybe like, $40,000-$50,000. It's the same as like a car, high-end car, but you could just, fly it easily and land it easily, and so
I think that'd be so cool in a place like the Philippines. I mean, I feel like I could see you just flying off your house.
I'm already picking where I'm going to be putting it at, right? And so, yeah, I think I know a good place to create the first, disbursement center here in the Philippines. And I figured the way to get to it would be using these drone vehicles. So you're going to come over, you have to, you just say, we'll send one to go pick you up, right? It's all kind of automated. Land, pick up and go. Now this is not out. This isn't like out of fantasy land, because this stuff exists already. It's already in motion and available. The ones that are available that are in like Dubai, they even debuted in Las Vegas. The Hung 182, I think is what they call it, or 184. From China, that's already in production. So there's others as well, but they're all automated. So it would be it would get people's attention. This is how, and then you just say where you're come in for your consultation for your project. First project, you.
Yep.
Okay.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
I spoke to someone today, and they were telling me about products, and they gave me the information for the woman who I believe is the inventor. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's this like cream. And if you had breast cancer, you can just rub it on the skin, and it'll force the tumor to break up and push out of the skin. I thought, well, that would be easy, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that? If that was all you had to do was, you got some cancer, just grab some cream down at the store.
Yeah.
It's gone. Just like that. Imagine the scourge of humanity. I mean, cancer has been played up. Cancer, there's so many cures for cancer.
Yeah.
It's easier to cure than
oxygen, vitamin B17, some other minerals and things like that are...
12 lemons zested and drank a day. Hydrogen peroxide, pharmaceutical grade level.
Yeah, oxygen.
4 to 1. Yeah. There's so many things that will cure the body of cancer. Cancer is just a blockage. So I think about that with everything else, right? Because cancer is just a symbol of every problem we have.
Yeah, once I found out that an apple a day keeps the cancer doctor away, but you just have to eat the seeds. That's the key. You gotta masticate the seeds, and if you have if you already have it, you can actually solve colon cancer by eating 40 seeds a day. You have to mash up the whole thing. You have to eat the whole thing, but you have to mash them. You can't eat them whole, because then it'll just pass through you. You got to get to the things inside.
How many seeds are in an average apple?
About 8. Sometimes it's just 2 or 3. But sometimes you'll get a pretty good apple and get about 8 good sized seeds out of it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you just look at it this way: make yourself some apple juice, right? and you eat a bunch of apples.
That must
right?
be Tui. I heard the call of the rooster.
Yeah.
Tui must be here.
Hello, Tui.
Hey.
Welcome.
What's going on, man?
Well,
hey, Tank. Hey, Dan. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Yeah. So
So-
now that Tui's on, we have no more than I think 30 minutes before the call will break. So we have no choice but to end it within 30 minutes.
Tui, the floor is yours, man.
First of all, I would like to thank you guys. Thank you for bypassing this show today. That even though Hangout couldn't work. Thank you, Dan, for actually doing what you did. And first, I would like to greet everyone in the chat room, everyone watching Um, Greeting and love from Fiji, and hope you guys are all doing well. All the sovereign people that are listening in. Um, I think it's a great topic that we're actually talking about sovereignty, and you guys were talking about how the magnetic electromagnetic field of the planet is actually it's in a very high level, and it's going to continue that way. It's just that what we do right now on the show, it's affecting everything that people are getting reminded that they with their connection to what God is, and as the awareness grows and people get more understanding on it, we will all get that what we call sovereignty, because that's if we think back in time to a point in the beginning, not from a 3D way of thinking, you will realize that everything is created and through the sharing of that sovereignty. And so to be able to gather that back to our awareness, we will go back towards that oneness that actually we that started everything that's created, every dimension that has been created. So all we're doing, we're just getting that through our awareness, and just we're getting that back. And so that's what sovereignty really means. It's we shared. That's what makes a being, sovereign. Is sovereignty unto God, because God resides within them. So as soon as they forget that, the sovereignty is being shattered, and they will create all the illusion out of that sovereignty they've lost. And so that was how creation actually worked in the beginning. Not talking about the Bible beginning, but the original beginning that created the whole universe. At first, it was just one sovereign entity, and then the sovereign entity decided to create. And so, in order to create, he has to share that sovereignty so that everything he creates can exist. And it's how we are here. And it's gone so low. It's gone so low. The part of that sovereignty that it's created so much that it has lost all sovereignty until it's reached the bottom of it. And now we're just regaining it back up and remembering that sovereignty back. And so I'm thankful to everyone that's listening in online, everyone at this moment. Just that awareness, just that remembering will change the entire planet. And if we, all the sovereign people of the world, really remember who we are, our sovereign, we'll be able to know how to recreate them and really find our way back to the beginning of everything. And so, that's like what I said yesterday. That's what the system of the world is running on. It's running on your sovereignty, and the way you serve it out. The way, if you have fear, you give it up that love, that sovereignty within you, and they gain from that energy. It's really simple, and that's how creation actually works. And so, in order for everyone to to remember, if that's part of all the projects, if they can include that with all the projects of helping, but not just helping, but help them to remember the sovereignty that everyone says, and help them to rebuild them through the experience that they will get with the project, through other, like how Tank was talking about, the soul, which is just the totality of experience that everyone needs to have right now. And so I think that's one of the most important part of every project, that has to work in line with what the role of the trust is. And so now, people, if you are here, you understand what the role Kim plays in retaining the sovereignty of the people. And now we keep talking about it, we'll fully understand what it means, and we'll be able to design projects and help her achieve that goal together, because she won't be able to do it alone. Sovereignty has to be recognized. We have to recognize each other. as innate creative energy that is part of the what we call God, that is running within every one of us. That is the life force within us, within the NI that's in the trust, that is in the planet, and recreate our our relationship with the animal and the plant kingdom and the elemental kingdom, and just being aware of it is that's the first step. Being aware of yourself, being aware of your connection between you, the spiritual essence of you, and the physical essence of you, and the creative essence outside of you. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we are actually doing this, and we're talking about it. So it's really good. Second day now, and yeah, that's that's apart from me. But yeah, I've been reading some of um, the chat in the chat room, and some of them are wondering if Tank would have an update.
Well, I don't have an update today actually. Kim went silent incognito, which she does sometimes when things are working and about to break. So usually, that means I'm supposed to figure something out. So yeah. So I mean, like, she gave me all the information we really need. I mean, she already said she broke through to the teller level, and she said she came to terms with the Secret Service, whose job is to protect the U.S. dollar. So, all types of alarms allegedly, I mean, the way she described it, went off. So, I'm assuming that means that they've come to terms to make sure that when transfers go out, that the dollar is protected, and in essence, the people. I mean, this money has been. I mean, the Secret Service, if they protect the U.S. dollar, you have to imagine now, because they would receive a fee, I guess, every time money would come in from the back ledger from the Federal Reserve. So because they would receive that fee, they had to come to terms, right? And I guess they protected wherever the dollar went for the bad guys. So I'm assuming that they've made some arrangement to protect us. But that's to be announced. Now, you know better than I would right now, Tui, from the energy.
yeah, we need an update, Tui.
Yeah, seriously. We're not used to that.
I mean, right now everyone is the update. You're listening in and all the activities that you're doing right now. It's all part of the collective experience that is needed at this moment, at this time. So I just try and just like I was saying yesterday, focus on the thing that you want to create. Focus your awareness on it. You can focus. I mean, you can disperse your energy or your sovereignty towards everything that's it's not that is not very helpful to the collective future that we try to create. But then as soon as you're done, you get that focus back, and you just learn how to accept everything that has happened, and try and accept it, forgive, and try and create a love frequency towards that thought or towards that maybe negative or negative experience that you've heard in the radio or in the news or somewhere in the planet, and try to learn to love that and to understand that it's part of how this whole world is trying to change, and all this expression has to come out. All these they have to express the negative energy has to express themselves, and like how we were talking about the shooting just close by here in New Zealand. Can see that, but don't try not to don't let it affect you. You can say condolences to the families that have been affected, even if it's real or not real. If it's gaining your awareness, and if you if you don't realize it, if you really look at it, it happens because of the topic that we're talking right now, the sovereignty. The person that killed or done what he did, he was just being programmed to, and he failures that, and he gives his sovereignty to the ideas that he came up with, and that's why he had a reason to do that, and to motivate him to do that, or the group that he planned it with. And so it's all based on the illusion of whatever you think sovereign in your life. And so,
Tui,
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know you'll keep going unless I stop you here. Tank actually kind of had an update on that particular event. Tank, it would probably be good if you bring that up.
What I read before.
Yeah, you told me this earlier today about this, or was it yesterday? But about the what happened in New Zealand. The Podesta was some evidence that showed that he was actually planning this.
Yeah, this is what it says, Dewey. It says that David Anthony Ruck claims to be a CIA deep state agent born in Connecticut, living in New Zealand, and he says he was instructed by Don Podesta, acting under authority of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, to orchestrate the New Zealand mass shootings.
So it's a false flag.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a video that was put on. Now, it's hard to confirm it, but someone actually using that gun as though it's being fired, and you see the casings, the brass casings, leaving after the shell, right? But they disappear in midair, and there's none falling on the floor. Yeah, so it's basically a graphic. It's a CG, computer generated image. So what part of it was real? And I have a feeling that a lot of the times they set up the guy to be the fall guy on this, that he was under some sort of kind of psychiatric care. And there's also evidence of the same psychiatrist moving from place to place. Their office closed down and they move away. So the guy actually was treating him as gone. But they may think that they're doing this thing and it's all a dream to them. And they really didn't do the false flag, but the media reports it, and they actually perform all of this as though it's just another sideshow. It's just, part of their fake story.
We are fortunate to be, to be in the know. There's a lot of people out there that don't have this awareness, and simply to them, what happened is actually real. And if they wouldn't be, they are not like us. They are not like people in school. They're actually aware of everything. There are certain people that everything that comes in the media is real to them, and being, just concentrating, focusing on feeling sorry and putting the energy on that really affects the whole planet. And so, whole planet, the collective mind of the planet. And so, these people are well aware of this kind of this technology and how it's used. And so, that gives us the responsibility for us. I always tell the chiefs that all the imbalances in the way you create or way your intent, I will cover them all, because of even though I'm just one person, and that's a very powerful intent that each and everyone can make on their own to be able to balance the whole planet. Just even though you're just one person, if you create that intent within you, then you just close your mind and you just shine a light within a very bright light that covers the whole planet, covers everything that you come across in the spiritual dimension. Everyone can see that. Over here, because we think that our thought is just, it's nothing. Over there, everything you think is real. And so if you think that, and then you can do that as part of a meditation, you cover that light within you, 10 kilometers around you, and then 100, 200 miles around you, and even the whole planet. And this will have value not just on this present time, but also in the future and even in the past. And so a lot of healing and clearing of these healing energies for us to actually move forward needs to be done in a physical form to physically remind the people of what they have created, what they are creating now, and what they can create in the future. And so this is what I'm working on with all the chiefs, so that they will have to be able to create intent in a very very powerful, very big magnitude to be able to cover the imbalances that's on the planet right now. And all of us here listening, and all of you, because you are creators, you are the guardians, the guardian of time, I call them, that are here to protect the planet from whatever imbalances that has been part of the programming and that it's still perpetuated in the mind of people. You can balance and control and do that. And so it can be seen even in the electromagnetic spectrum. It's because the awareness of you is the part of the essence of what you call the God particle that is actually aware and alive. And so all of us, whatever you imagine, all this affects how the AI or the NI arrange the probability of the future. And so all the collectives know this because even they, like I always try to say, they are just us from the future. And if we don't regain our sovereignty now, that means it will affect them in whatever future probability. And so we have, that's why I'm always grateful for this chance. Just say this out words, and you'll be able to think it up in your mind, and it will affect the NI and our collective intent as a whole. So, there's a lot of correction and a lot of healing that everyone has to do with their personal life, as a collective, as a history. Because people, right now, they tend to hold so dearly, so strongly to whatever beliefs and whatever or faith that they've come through in their life. So I'm thankful for this moment that, we enable me to actually be talking about it. And I mean, you can go deeper into it, but, for our standing, I'm just thankful.
Well, it's hard to catch up on all these things. Though there's so many topics, and I got sidetracked on two different thoughts. So let me just say that we have a lot that we're working on, and the people that we're close with, that we're now expressing to them that they can join in. Like I said, I was going to bring another friend of mine on here who has projects that he's been planning for here in the Philippines to talk about it. But the technical issue is if I brought him on, then I wouldn't be able to bring Tui on. And I said let's because we can only bring on one other person, and it's then the time factor kicks in. But we'll do this tomorrow. But we all have to start working towards bringing things together and taking action, and that's what it comes down to. And we need to really move. We really need to move and take these steps. That's purpose of doing this broadcast. It's a lot of effort.
I was amazed yesterday. There's something that Stan can actually share about the picture that you sent. If you can just talk about it just slightly, and I think it would be really amazing for people to know.
I shared. To explain, I have a regular practice of daily going into meditation, and in my meditation, my meditations are usually pretty visual. So I I draw everything out. So I draw out what is most prominent to me in my meditation. And as a practice, I find that to be cathartic, but it helps me focus on what I saw, which a lot of times kind of needs to be translated in one way or another to grasp meaning. But I sent Tui this image that I drew from my book about 2 months ago. I'm sure I have it dated actually. About 2 months ago, and I can tell you what it is. I guess I could post it actually, but it's basically what I saw was the energetic, torus energy fields kind of expanding beyond, out from, some centralized points and connecting with this kind of universal energy out of the body and in the body, and that the face that I saw was Tui's, and I drew it about 2 months ago, and I mean you can, Tui, you can post it. You feel free to post it. These are all things I'm drawing from what I saw in my meditation. So there's no way, I had no idea Tui existed at the time. But when I saw it, I was like,
well, Tui didn't exist until you drew it.
Yeah. And by the way, it's like a brolic, really buff version of Tui as well. But but it's with the face.
So you've drawn it really perfectly, because what you draw there is actually me, and my name, and sometimes it comes like I talk, and then it comes out, and then people think that I'm referring to the physical me, but then, when you draw that, and then it's I understand. That's I don't know what to say. I will post it up. I'll make sure everyone see the drawing. And my name, the name that you're saying right now is Tui Lama Lama. Tui Lama Lama in my language, it means what you just drew. The Tui means king, and the Lama Lama means the inner heart, and that's what you actually draw. And so that's the first meaning of the picture that you just drew, and it looks just like me.
Yeah, I just sent it to your Telegram.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll pull it up.
It'll make more sense. It's funny too. It's funny because in your meditation, everything is the kind of the way that your soul, your brain, whatever is, your heart is processing and translating things into images that make sense to you. So everything is a reflection of yourself, right? I think about this all the time, that the energy we see in each other, right, is mine too, right? It's I am you and you are me, and that's part of the beauty of all this. I'm a fervent believer in that. If we can realize how similar we are, then we realize empowering someone else is just as empowering to us as it is to someone else.
Now it will make sense to you, the change in the electromagnetic spectrum of the planet. And, we might think that it's just a coincidence that the first day that I reached out to you, and just a few hours, few minutes after that, it is start happening. And it can be felt by the NI that the probability in the future has changed, and things that were not clearing has cleared out. And so I'm happy. I was just full of tears in those few days. That's why I went to the chiefs, and then that's the first time I introduced you guys to the chief, because we can feel it from here, just like like what we said in the beginning. Fiji is unique. Just the first. That's it. That's the one. And so that's me.
Yeah, it's a perfect likeness.
Listen, and and I will say, this is just the truth. This is just the truth. Like my meditations, over the past year, have proven out to be, relatively predictive. I had seen this. I had a meditation where I had seen this pyramid floating up in the sky, and I drew it all out. And I had gone down to Atlantis in my meditation and released some etheric dragon. It wasn't an evil dragon; it was a good dragon. And there was some pyramid floating above, and Atlantis was rising. And then 2 weeks later, everybody was taking pictures and showing this pyramid floating above Washington D.C. So, I don't know. And then now I just manifested Tui.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Beautiful.
That's the tetragrammaton that you actually draw there. And that's part of my agreement. And that's why I have a deeper connection with the history that's in the Bible, with Moses and what actually happened in Egypt, and a different story from what the Bible says about what really happened. And so one day maybe we'll get, because it's part of remembering, of healing the awareness, even though it's been put into the Bible as a history, part of the Israel people. Those agreements actually come up to this because it's part of what happens in Atlantis and what happens in Sumeria, what happens in Egypt, and how it actually come down, how they were able to take the technology away from Egypt and move it to Israel, and part of why we have awareness of Christianity. And these all spiritual programs that has been implemented in the past thousands of years for the lessons that need to be learned. And so, I know we don't have a long time to speak up today, so that's why I jumped straight into the point that when I started talking about how sovereignty is simply really means the God in you, that is you, that is everything. That it will take you years, it will thousands, millions of years to realize that, but everyone will have to come to one day to be able to remember it clearly. Not just because, like a journey to the beginning, where everything was just one sovereignty, and in order for creation to happen, that sovereignty has to be separated. And so more sovereigns and other sovereigns, and this creation, there are creation all over the universe, all the different millions and millions of universe that exist now. This is only through that one sovereign beginning. And so that's the same thing we're going to try and do now to be able to recreate the future. We have to recreate, re-bundle the sovereignty, remember it individually, and then as a tribe, as a family, as a tribe, as a district, as a people in the nation, and as a nation, and as a collective of a nation, to be able to be united in one plane, in one planet. And this has been stated in the Bible. They call it the Kingdom of Zion, or the Kingdom of Heaven. In Daniel's book, Nebuchadnezzar actually dreamt about that illusion of this big statue, has a head of gold, has a silver chest and two hands, then the brass, and then the iron, and then the lead and the iron right in the seat. And these are all, just based on illusion of people for over thousands of years, and what people think and what people believe. And so now the beginning of that change, that stone that falls from heaven, it is just people really remembering who they are and their connection to God, which is why it's coming from heaven. But it's definitely within you, and it's in you. And so as soon as that will come, and as soon as that people are reminded, they will be sovereign. And every illusion they've been collecting for all these past thousands and thousands of years will just fall apart, and it will just crash. and what actually, like, and just wetted away, and people will become united, and people will become sovereign. And so this kingdom, that kingdom that will stand forever. And it will rule. Christ will rule over the earth, and Christ within everyone. And that what Christ means is just you remembering your connection, remembering who you are, and remembering that no long forgotten memory, because it's always in there. And so sovereignty is a really big topic, because we are talking about every creation and everything that has gone in the past until this moment now that I'm talking right now. And so to be able to reorganize it, recorrect it, re-forgive, and then recreate, it's gonna be. I'm loving all the experience, all the synchronicity, and everything that's happening, and only not just here in Fiji, but like just an example now that we just saw. It was a picture of me a few months ago, and we're talking, and it's I looked at it. Yeah, there's no doubt. That's my right hand right there. You do it perfectly. Yeah, you will. You see me in you see me face to face or in without camera, you'll be able to see that like he's a good artist. Yeah, and that's just an example of expressing sovereignty. We can do it even before time, and we can do it at the moment. You can do it in the past. Things that you took for granted in the past, you can recorrect it just by thinking about it and reorganize and reevaluate some bad experience that you've gone, and make it a lesson, accept it, and you'll be able to change this present now, and you'll be able to change the future. And that is, an innate ability of creation that everyone has, and everyone has to remember. They don't have to stay in their past, and their past will become in their future. I don't have to throw it away. You don't have to if you've done something so bad or you killed someone and all that, and you want to throw it and forget it. No, it's part of who you are. It's part of the DNA. It's part of your soul agreement and experience, and it's part of your experience. So you can learn and you can value yourself from there, and then you just restart anew now, because we all have that ability, but we just forget, and we just go with the flow. And so if we do that, we'll always end up arguing and always end up in division and fighting amongst each other with all the different illusions that we've been carrying around, helping daily, and we almost believe that that's who we are. Like the first day we talked, I said, your name. That's the first illusion that try and look for it. It's not around you. It's never written on you. And all this time you'll be thinking that it's you. And I said that you are more air than your name. You are more water than your name. And you are more land and soil than your name. You are more fire than your name. And all this unity, you're all united. That's more you than your illusions of name. And so, it's a deep lesson that every individual has to try and learn.
Okay, well, Tui, I want to interrupt because we're down to 3 minutes.
Yes.
So get our last goodbyes in, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone listening in. Even everyone that's on the chat room. I would like to thank you guys personally. And then. Thank you so much for this opportunity. A blessing and love from Fiji. Please do take care of yourself.
Well, let's keep the vibration going. They bring up that vibration from 7 mega. What was it? 7.84
7.84
megahertz.
Last I heard, it shot up as high as 180.
So we're 180.
Yeah. It's gonna continue.
Yeah, let's go. We gotta get going here. So. See you tomorrow.
All right. Good night, everybody.
And on that note. All right. Goodbye, everybody.